Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. So, what can I say? We had that big press conference. I covered it. And you know what? Fed Chair Powell dropped some bombshells. Really? He's desperate at fixing this broken economy of ours in the U.S. So, let's talk about what was discussed, why markets are crashing, and is there recovery in sight? So let's get started. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit that notification bell to get notified of all my streams. Follow me on social media. Check out CryptosRUs.com. And make sure you follow my other channels as well. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hopefully you guys are hanging in there. I haven't been this bearish since yesterday. No, I'm just kidding. But it's a very gloomy day. Very, very gloomy day. You could see after the big press conference, Dow, U.S. markets crashed down negative 500. NASDAQ down 200. Bitcoin and crypto started going down. In fact, Bitcoin is at 18.5, right? Entire market cap went down another 3%. So we're under 900 billion, right? So the pain is piling on. And, a lot of you guys tuned into that press conference today. And, Powell started out saying all the right things. Market liked it. Market was going up, 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 up. Then the press started asking him some hard questions, and he couldn't dodge those hard questions. And it got people real nervous about what he was saying for next year. Not only next year, 2023, but 2024 and 2025, as the Fed tries to reel in, inflation, and this situation that we're in that seems to have no soft landing. Let's say that's what Powell likes to say. He likes to see a soft landing. He likes to see inflation being transitory. Neither one of those things are happening, right? So that is the reality of the situation, which is why things don't look very good right now. So I decided to do some research and dig, and the more I dig, the more I don't like what I find. So in case you missed it, this morning or this afternoon, the Fed raised the federal fund rate by another 0.75%, which is 0.75, which is 75 basis points, bringing up the total fund rate up to about 3%. Now, 3% is still very far off from the expected 4.5%, something like that. So we got another 1.5 basis points to go, 150 basis points to go. So most likely in November, December, we're going to get 75 basis points in both months. So the rates are going to keep coming. They're not going to stop, right? And even though this was expected today, people really, I don't think they really sold off because of the rate hike. They sold off because of what Powell said about unemployment expected to go up, about the U.S. entering a recession, even though he did not specifically say, yes, the U.S. will be in recession, but we're already in technical recession. And people pressed him on, well, if the unemployment is at 4.5%, that's considered a recession, right? And he's like, well, and he kind of danced around that question, but the answer is yes. Not only are we in a technical recession, we will be in a full-blown recession because he has to try to fight inflation. He says that price stability is the number one thing that he's concentrating on, right? The number one thing. So that's why near term, we're going to have to suffer. We're going to suffer a little bit. The soft landing may not happen. In fact, it probably will not happen. And he talks about having a restrictive level, right, for quite some time, even though he's mindful of financial conditions, aka the stock market. But what he really cares about is bringing inflation down, right? But how did we get here? I saw a couple articles today that kind of prompted me, with my research. The rate hike, according to this correspondent, could add another 2.1 trillion to the federal deficit, which, if you didn't know, in the US is at $31 trillion and climbing. $31 trillion worth of debt. Okay? That is still going up and up and up and up. And the reason why we really have inflation is due to all the money printing, which is something that Fed Powell will not admit to. Not once did he talk about, well, maybe we gave out too many loans. Maybe we gave out too many PPP loans and forgave too many of them. Maybe we printed a little bit too much. No, but none of those things were mentioned. Only things that were mentioned were, okay, supply chain issues, we know, and the war. Talked about the war a couple of times, right? But the reality of the situation is too much money was printed and given, right? Part of tight quantitative easing that happened for the last 2 years, right? And there's no way to bring that money back. It's floating out there, and it caused such a expansion of the US dollar. That's why we're in the situation we're in now, compounded by some external factors, right? But man, it's a bad situation, very bad situation, So I decided to pull this up. Take a look at this. This is the U.S. money supply, the M1 supply, and you could see what happened starting in April. It went from roughly 5 trillion to now at 21 trillion. So in terms of the total money supply, went from 5 trillion to 21 trillion in 2 years. Okay, think about that. This is liquid assets that went up by $15 trillion in 2 years. This may be the reason why we have inflation. Okay, and then if you look at the M2, which includes saving deposits and so forth, but still, we went from 15.5 trillion to 22 trillion, right? That's an increase of what, $7 trillion? So this is the reason why we have inflation, because of the money printing, right? Because of this pandemic. And you know what? That's the situation. So, in my opinion, what Powell's trying to do is a very tough job, but he is failing right now because it's just a almost impossible situation to kind of get back that money, and out with the external factors, it's just nearly impossible, right? So that's the situation we're in. This is why I labeled today's video like the broken U.S. economy. I mean, if you look at all these things, and they're not stopping. They're not stopping either. For example, this recent student loan forgiveness, from Biden, this is going to add another 400 to 600 billion to the deficit. 400 to 600 billion. So $500 billion that is coming, right? I mentioned about the PPP loans. I totally forgot about the forgiveness. 742 billion was forgiven. And a lot of this money was given to the rich that already had money, but they were given because they applied for it and it's forgiven. So close $750 billion forgiven, right? Of course, we had the stimulus check given that totaled to $800 billion. Yes, so close to $1 trillion. This is why we have inflation, because we have trillions upon trillions upon trillions being given out, and there's no recourse for it, right? So we're all feeling the pain right now, and that is what we're going to experience for a long, long time. Long time, because the only thing the Fed can do is raise rates and try to curb demand, because that's the only weapon they have against inflation. They don't have any other weapons. They can't do anything else but to curb demand and suppress the economy, which hurts everyone, right? In the meantime, everything gets hurt. Banks' prime rate soars. How does this hurt? It hurts home buyers. It hurts people that wants to refinance. It hurts renters because now the cost of everything's going up, right? It hurts everyone. And we haven't really seen a real, we haven't seen the inflation go the opposite way yet. the last few readings from the last few months, besides energy costs coming down, everything else is still going upwards, right? So a lot more pain is going to come. And, here's the funny thing. And it's not really funny, but despite everything I've said, all the badness and the broken U.S. economy, guess what's happening right now? The dollar is still soaring. And why is the dollar soaring? It's not necessarily that the dollar is soaring. It's the other currencies are collapsing. So if you look at this headline, which was published, this article was published 4 hours ago, the U.S. dollar soars on two-decade high. But if you go below, really, it's not because of that. It's because the euro slides to a two-decade low. That's what's happening right now. So even though the Fed is doing what it can to fix the broken economy, right, people see that as a pro versus what the other countries or zones are doing. In fact, if you check, the euro has now fallen to $0.98. $0.98. So, yeah, the euro is collapsing. UK, the British pound, right, was at 1.14, which was like a 30 or 40-year low, right? It was just like a week ago. Now has fallen to 112. So pretty soon, even the British pound could be at parity with the US dollar and could even drop below that. So here's the thing. Despite the fact that the U.S. economy is not doing good, the dollar is still gaining strength, which is why the DXY continues to go up. And with the DXY going up, well, it's not good for markets either, right? So right now, even though it seems like the U.S. economy is going down to the you-know-what, but it seems like other economies, at least the traders, the investors, they're still viewing the U.S. being in the best position to curb inflation versus everywhere else, which is why the dollar is being bought temporarily. The short-term U.S. Treasury bonds and notes are being bought. You look at the 1 year, it's at 4%, 2 years at 4%, 3 year at almost 4%, right? Temporarily, everyone's putting their money into U.S. dollar and U.S. Treasury bonds because that is still considered the best alternative versus everything else out there, right? So that is what's happening. And the DXY continued to skyrocket. It's skyrocketed to 111 today. You look at the entire year, just goes up and up and up and up and up. And people that have been charting DXY keep thinking, well, it's going to top out and come down. It's not going to come down if the euro and the pound and the Japanese yen and the Canadian dollar continues to collapse against the USD. It's not, right? So also something that is not good and may be lasting for quite a long time, right? So as you can see, not a good situation right now. Not a good situation right now, and it has me really fed up. The only thing I could do is kind of laugh it off, but inside, it's killing me because the more I learn about what's actually really happening, the more it angers me, right? But the good thing is my resolve in Bitcoin has not changed. In fact, my resolve with Bitcoin has strengthened because of all these things, right? This is the reason why I truly believe that more and more people are turning to Bitcoin, and eventually Bitcoin will become a global currency because of what's happening right now. This proves it. This proves that we need something better. Bitcoin was created out of the last recession because of distrust in banks and the Federal Reserve and central banks in general, right? It was created for this reason. But after it was created, we had, 12 years of up markets, right? We had interest rates basically at zero. The fund Fed rate has been at zero. Markets were blooming, equities, NASDAQ, everything was blooming, right? So Bitcoin wasn't really tested. People didn't really care about why it was created. People only cared about if they made money with Bitcoin, right? But now people are starting to realize that, hey, this notion of distrust in banks and federal governments and all the shenanigans that they're doing, right? It's real. We need something better. We need Bitcoin, right? So strength is my resolve. And I believe that everyone should look out for something better. And, you know, it may not happen today, may not happen tomorrow, but one day the global population, the earth, will realize that, yeah, we need something better than what exists now. And we already have that in form of Bitcoin, right? So, yeah. And someone that has been through some of these cycles, like me, and in fact, I think CZ been through more cycles, you know, he is still very bullish overall, right? He says the market is healthy. He's been quoted saying that we need to weed out the leverage, which has happened already, right? Waiting for a bottom, but overall, he's a holder, telling people to hodl, and I believe he'll tell you the same message. Basically, people will come to realize that not only is Bitcoin the greatest store of value, right, but it's the ultimate hedge against inflation, and it's really a hedge against the Fed and governments, right? It's something that can't be inflated, can't be, you can't apply quantitative easing to it, right? You can't really take control over it, not controlled by any bank or entity. You know, the network is free, and it's a very powerful network. It's a very powerful network. So don't give up on Bitcoin. Despite everything I just said, don't give up on Bitcoin. Plan B also. I haven't seen Plan B talk about this, but he, using his stock to flow model, which kind of became invalidated already, and a lot of people poke fun of him about the stock to flow model, but he's basically saying the exact times he has purchased Bitcoin, according to his stock to flow model, right? So he purchased his first Bitcoin back in 2015, around $400, the first yellow circle. The second time was around $4,000, right? And the third time is now. Interesting. Around $20K. Kind of like Michael Saylor, but unfortunately, both he and Michael Saylor are down since their buys. But that's okay. That's okay. As long as they believe, as long as they continue to hodl and DCA over long term, that's okay, right? The problem is a lot of short-term retail investors that don't quite understand everything that I've just said about Bitcoin, right? They're the ones that get burned out. They get in, they see the money go down, and then they lose, right? And then they exit. They don't truly understand. But people that have been in the space for a while, first of all, have been through worse. Second of all, truly understand. And if you really understand, there's no deterring you away from Bitcoin, right? So hopefully Plan B is one of those guys. I think so, since he bought his first Bitcoin in 2015. Someone who isn't one of those guys is Jamie Dimon, who we know is a big Bitcoin bear, right? But then he became silent because JP Morgan, his bank, now offers Bitcoin to their wealthy advisor. Their wealth advisors offer Bitcoin to their wealthy investors, right? They're also getting involved with crypto themselves. They have the JP Morgan chain, right? They have the JP Morgan coin, and they're very involved with crypto overall. Even some of their analysts have said very bullish things about Bitcoin. But despite all of that, Jamie Dimon is now trying to kick Bitcoin while it's down. He calls everything, including Bitcoin, decentralized Ponzi schemes. Before, he would say, I don't care about Bitcoin, but everything else is a Ponzi. Now, he's even saying that even Bitcoin is a Ponzi, despite the fact his bank still offers Bitcoin services. So he's not one of those guys. He's not one of those guys that truly believes. But, there's still some of these guys out there. They will learn eventually. Maybe not now, but they will learn. Maybe like Michael Saylor, maybe become like Michael Saylor, who tweeted this out: 130K Bitcoins equals 130K Bitcoins, which is true. The math checks out. Unfortunately, not everyone has 130K Bitcoins. So, but the math is legit. But you can simplify that. One Bitcoin still equals one Bitcoin, regardless of what it is. In USD equivalent, it's still one Bitcoin. Just keep that in mind. All right. Lastly, Cardano. Just want to talk about tomorrow. No one is paying attention to this. I think I'm the only one covering this. But it seems like all the Cardano fans went away. But there is the Vasil Hardfork tomorrow, so it's a pretty big upgrade for Cardano. And we'll see if this have any. Hopefully it goes smoothly. Hopefully there's no hiccups or anything, right? And hopefully this brings Cardano more attention and more dApps and more usage afterwards. So, yeah, it's going to start. It's going to start tomorrow. So wait for it. All right, that's pretty much it. So Bitcoin is at 18.5. Entire market cap I mentioned went down a little bit. But you know what? BTC dominance is still below 40%. So it does show that even though it's very bearish right now and there's a lot of badness going on, people are still holding on to their bags. People are holding on to their altcoins. They're DCAing, right? But right now there is still a lot of selling of Ethereum. It just seems like the Ethereum whales, the ones that are trying to drive people out, continue to drive and sell. Even though this morning I covered how the burning is, the move to proof of stake in terms of the issuance plus burning is working. The issuance is way lower than before. So there's less supply now and less coming out, right? But the whales are still trying to drive people out while they can, right? So yeah, that's what's going on. All right, let's do some Q&A. Are you concerned? Melvin asked, are you concerned with nuclear war? No, I'm not. I don't think I'll ever come to that. The Ponzi's made me BTC maxi. Mostly thoughts? None. Good for you. Good for you. Let's see here. Let me scroll up, make sure. All right, let me scroll through. Matt Jukes asks what it takes to decouple Bitcoin from risk on to off. You mean from being a risk on asset? It's going to take a lot more liquidity. It's going to take a lot more people getting involved with Bitcoin and using it and holding it, but mostly holding it. And the market cap needs to be quite a lot higher than it is now. Possibly one day when it gets to like 600,000 each, the market cap equals 12 trillion, roughly the market cap of gold. Maybe then. Let's see here. Rich Q, I did not actually. I did think about it. I did do a short and TikTok about my blue label, but I kept myself away. Do you think the rate hike will have a negative impact on election? I think so. I don't think anyone thinks inflation is being properly handled right now, but it's really an impossible situation. We like to blame Powell. I know that's an easy target. He is an easy target. No one likes Powell, but he's in a very tough time. How do you answer this? How do you answer when the U.S. Printed pretty much this much within such a short amount of time? How do you curb inflation, right? It's a really hard task. So he's doing what he can, but he's also, trying to pay attention to the overall markets. He doesn't want the markets to crash. He admitted that today, that he does look at financial conditions. He's mindful of it, his words, right? Because many people thought that maybe he should have been a lot more aggressive, could have done 100 basis points, months ago and kept doing 100 basis points. But, had he been that aggressive, the U.S. markets would have collapsed to nothing. He would have caused mass panic, right? So it's a tough thing. Thoughts on Twitch banning gambling streamers? I didn't even know that, but I know some of those gambling streamers are crazy. And I don't know if they're really using real money, but I see these guys like bet $1,500 per hand, and they're just going through, and it's like it's nothing. But I can't tell if it's real or not. I didn't know that they were banning them, but yeah. I think Gensler is equivalent to a crypto Karen. It's probably worse because he has the power. He's not just complaining. He has the power to do something about it. Are you still bullish for 2024? Yes. 2024, I'm still bullish. 2023, I'm still hopeful. But I think the first half of 2023 may not be as good as I originally thought. Second half of 2023, maybe, right, as things get better. But the first half of 2023 has me kind of worried after listening to Powell today. He restated that he is going to be very aggressive at trying to bring inflation down. Twitch equals OnlyFans 2.0. There are a lot of, nice eye candy on Twitch, that's for sure. But I think it's still dominated by gamers. By the way, I just caught up on House of the Dragon. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know what you think. Because me personally, I think it's interesting, but it's not the same as Game of Thrones. It's so much tamer. There's less killing, less backstabbing. Doesn't seem like there's anyone that's really conniving and a snake that, that's like Littlefinger in the Game of Thrones. It's like a totally different show. It's like, it's almost like what you would imagine the medieval times being. But Game of Thrones really changed your outlook, at least my outlook, in terms of everyone was just out to kill each other. I don't know what you guys thought. I just caught up on the whole series today. DCA day. I don't know. Maybe I'll just skip DCA. I'm not in the mood for it. No, I'm just kidding. I'll do it. Let me pull it up. Quite honestly, I didn't think about what I'm going to buy. Let's bring it up here. Down 49%. So a little bit lower than last week, 5% lower. That's because this week was absolutely horrendous. I'm just going to keep it simple. Just go with Bitcoin. Nothing wrong with going with Bitcoin. When in doubt, go with Bitcoin. So 500 divided by 18,503. That's 0.0270. All right. That's it. Added another $100 to Bitcoin this week. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens next week. Hopefully we gain a little bit. Every week recently, it seems like we have good progress, and then it just like goes down the shitter. Mostly due to economic stuff that we hear about. Let's see. Am I a bourbon guy? Yeah, I don't mind a good bourbon. What are your top 3 cryptos? Ruben asked. Bitcoin, Ethereum. I don't know the third. I don't really have a favorite third. I'll just go with. You know what? I like Polygon. I'm gonna go with Polygon as my third. Yeah. So Ethereum, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Polygon is my top 3. Eduardo, appreciate it. Yakko says House of Dragon has been great. I don't know. I like it, but it's just not the same vibe. I'm used to a lot more backstabbing and stuff. The only thing weird is Valera. Does she really have sex with her uncle? That was like kind of like half. Like I don't know what happened there, right? Like that was kind of weird, but like you knew there was attraction there, right? But like, did they actually do it halfway and then he stopped, or they didn't do it at all? I didn't quite get that. JRR, I think you got that right. I'm not gonna repeat it. And Bing says she didn't. They did not, but I think it was like halfway, or at least the start of it. Decon says, unless you're super comfortable financially like George, cash will be king. There will be worse recessions. This will be the worst recession in decades. Best Buy should come sometime in the next 2 to 12 months. I don't disagree with that. I honestly think that's well put. I think it could get much worse, although maybe not. Sometimes when we go through these very, very horrible times, that's when bottom is found, right? And, you know, to give some hope right now, even though we're at 18.5, we're not at our previous low, right? Hopefully we don't get there. Maybe we do, maybe we don't. But overall market is still not near its previous low from this year and nowhere close to the previous low of 2020, right? And, you know, a lot of times when we are in that like capitulation phase, we don't know until things get better. And then we're like, okay, that was bad, right? But looking at what I just said, what I covered at the beginning, looking at how we got here in the U.S. with inflation, with the deficit, with everything else that's going on. I didn't even mention the bond market, right? You know, luckily right now the U.S. dollar is strong, because if it wasn't and no one was buying Treasury notes and bonds, well, the U.S. government will be in real trouble. Because that's the only thing keeping the government alive right now. We are burning at a 1 trillion rate per year. So if no one bought those bonds, that would be real trouble, right? And how we're getting by is basically paying the interest on those bonds and issuing new bonds every year, which is why the deficit keeps going up and up and up. But yeah, I didn't even talk about that. That's just, you talk about like Jamie Dimon, you know, talking about how Bitcoin is a Ponzi, right? But if you look at our financial system, how the U.S. government works, that's a real Ponzi. It's a real Ponzi. It's worse than anything crypto offers, really, outside of Luna and its collapse, but outside rug pulls and stuff. But man, if you look at how the U.S. government is operating on a grander scale, that's the real Ponzi. Any update with Sandbox? Last time I heard they got someone else involved. I forgot which project was getting involved with Sandbox. XRP and Ripple are two different things. Hard to go stop XRP. They are two separate things. And the XRP ledger is a separate thing too. So you really got three things going on, right? But here's the thing. Here's what most people don't realize. Even though they are separate things, more than 50% of the tokens, XRP tokens, is held by Ripple. So there is definitely a relationship. The development that happens on XRP ledger, the developers, it's all funded by Ripple. So even though they are separate things, they're very tied together. Should we follow? Wait, did someone say something about someone said something about, I don't know, it disappeared. Someone said, should we follow Andrew Tate and get out of the matrix? Yeah, you get out of the matrix by getting into Bitcoin. That's how you get out of the matrix. You gotta get out of the broken system. It is definitely broken, but it's the one that we operate by. But eventually people will realize that it is broken. It's unsustainable. It really is a Ponzi if you look at how it operates. And we need something better. Yeah, you know what? I just saw a TikTok of Papliano saying that his Andrew Tate video, his interview, which attracted 1.4 million views, got removed by YouTube because of harmful content or something like that. I didn't know that, right? So YouTube is real serious about removing his content. Ripple can leave the USA, and what will the feds do? They probably will take their passports away and not let Brad and Chris Larson leave the country. That's probably what they would do. That interview was good. I know Tate says some really outlandish things, but he does it to get attention. Overall, I think his message is good on a lot of points. One of them is get out of the matrix, get out of the dollar and get into something better like Bitcoin. Possible stock market crash like 2008. Well, yeah, I mean, it has been crashing. You know, we had some bad days. Just the other day, just a week ago, we had Dow crash 1,200 points. That's a pretty bad crash. But if you're talking about Dow maybe falling 50% from here, I don't know. It just seems like we're not there yet. Maybe over time, slowly. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe in 2023. But, you know, I still maintain this. I still maintain that in the last 3 months of this year, October, November, December, right, things get a little bit better. But then things could get much worse back, you know, come January. But I do think heading into the last few months of this year with, with the holidays coming up, traditionally speaking, markets do better. So I'm still clinging on to that. But then, you know, harsh reality hits once January and February rolls around. Labor market going to crash. You know, that's one of the things that Powell said this today that I was poking at because it didn't make much sense. He was saying inflation is really hurting a lot of Americans. I don't doubt that. But he says it hurts people with lower wages the most, which makes sense, right? So that's why he's like, we need to have price stability, and that's why we're going to be super hawkish with our price rate hikes, right, to drive prices down. But then on the other hand, he's like, well, you know, we're going to see unemployment go up. You know, there will be less jobs out there. There will be restaurants and retailers and companies that start laying people off because they just simply can't survive, right? That also hits people with lower wages. So you can't say that, okay, I'm helping this class of people, so I'm going to do this, and somehow this class of people is not affected. That's not true, because what he's doing in terms of suppressing demand affects everyone, right? And if a lot of people start getting hurt, especially businesses, family businesses, smaller businesses, right? If they get hurt and they go under, that affects the blue-collar people, right? And those are people that Powell says he wants to help. So it's all connected, but he's talking like it's somehow not connected. So that's what I disagree with. But yeah. So, that's just like I said, I don't envy Powell. I'm not saying I know the economy better than Powell. I'm not saying I can do a better job than him, and I'm not saying I have any other solutions. The only one I have is improve supply. The supply shock that we keep dealing with, right? Why don't we try to improve that? But that's outside the purview of the Fed. That's not his thing. He can't help that, right? But what will really help is increasing supply instead of decreasing demand. You decrease demand too much, we truly will be in a deep recession, and hopefully we don't get into depression, but that's what's going to happen if we continue our current pace. Jason, no, I can't. I can't take his job. No, I can't. Can't do it. I'm not saying I'll do a better job. I can't. And I won't. But I like to ask. I like to poke the holes. Let's just say that. All right. And there's a lot of holes right now. It's all about supply. Like why on manufacturers to produce more in the U.S. or something. Why can't there be like a big push to bring manufacturing back into the U.S. so we're not dependent on, shipping and China. And, why can't we do that, as a way to offset inflation? Why can't we, I don't know, lower taxes on companies that's producing in the U.S., right? There's a lot of stuff we could do, but it seems like we don't hear about any of that. We just chalk it up like, okay, supply shock, that's it. There's nothing we could do. Why is there nothing we could do about supply? Why can't there be more emphasis? Not from the Fed, but like from the administration, from Congress. Why can't we do more about increasing supply? So that's the question I have. That's what I would ask someone in charge. And I don't know who's in charge of that. Who's in charge of supply issues in the U.S.? Is there like a specific person that's supposed to be in charge of that? I don't know. I don't quite know. Tony, I do like poking holes. James said China has big problems with unfinished buildings. Yeah, they're demolishing buildings that have not even been open yet or operating. Like supposedly there's a big mortgage crisis in China right now too. A lot of builders ran out of money and people are refusing to pay. So they're just demolishing brand new buildings left and right too. Steven says, I'm an accountant. We can't find any accountants. It's all about lack of working age adults. See demographics of the U.S. We're out of adults. Steven, I like to know where all the accountants went, right? Like there's a lot of white-collar jobs, let's just say accountants. Where did they go? And you can't tell me they all retired. Not everyone's at retirement age. So what happened to all the accountants? What kind of jobs did they take, right? Like, I want to know why so many jobs is still so hard to fill, right? And you can't tell me everyone became a DoorDasher or everyone became an Uber driver. You can't tell me that. It's going to get saturated, right? So what happened to all the people that left the jobs 2 years ago? Why have they not come back? And Steven, no, they didn't all become YouTubers or OnlyFans creators. Maybe some went to OnlyFans, but you can't have everyone going on OnlyFans or YouTube or TikTok. Hershad said, I'm a CPA. I stopped taking trash clients. Okay. I don't know what that means exactly, but yeah. But that's not true. I'm not gonna say repeat what you just said. Accountants aren't very sexy. They may be. They may be. Depression is hitting people. Well, at least in this chat. At least there's a lot of people, liquored up like me, having a good time, trying to laugh off the pain, because there was a lot of pain today. What is the fear index today? Still at 22. Yeah. The next one will be tomorrow, but probably be around the same. We haven't dropped to 8 or 9 like before, right? So even though it's extremely fearful, we still haven't hit our previous bottom, at least in terms of fear, right? But yeah, there's just it's one of those rabbit holes you don't want to climb into, because once you do, you just realize how broken the economy is, and the possibility of becoming more broken. But it just shows that we need something better like Bitcoin. What's the next car I'm reviewing? A Genesis electrified G80. It's a nice car. Nice car. I was actually going to post that today. I'm going to save it for tomorrow. What's your outlook on real estate? You think it's going to go down? You know what? I think it's going to go down. It's going to go down very hard. And, that also is turning my hairless head full of white hairs, because I'm in the process of building a house. I told you guys that, right? I'm about to close next week. And, I was given some estimates in terms of what my interest payments will be just on the construction loan and so forth. And it's astronomical, since mortgage rates are at 6.5%. Next year, it could be like 7 or 8%, right? Like I'm like calculating the math. I'm like, this is just stupid. This is utterly stupid. And the price of the price to build a house has not really gone down at all. I'm like, I'm talking to my builder. I'm like, hey, I'm reading all these stories about, builder confidence going down, the supply, the orders of new construction homes have gone down, mortgage rates are up, overall demand for real estate is down, right? So why is the prices of building a home not coming down? He's like, I don't know, because it's still hard to hire people. Costs of like concrete did not go down. In fact, there was like some kind of strike that raised the price of concrete. And then, wood came down a little bit, but still it's way higher than before. So it's like, man, this is like the worst time ever to be building a house. But, it's been so long. The process has been ongoing for like 5 months. There's no way I'm going to be stopping it. But yeah, it sucks. I think real estate market is going to be worse. Much worse next year. Wait, electric G80 is a thing? Yup. The official name is the Genesis Electrified G80. So I will be releasing a review video tomorrow. What's the cost per square foot? I don't remember. That's like $400 or $450 or something like that. I don't know. It was high. It was high. I'll give you $10K for your sports car on order. If you gave me maybe 10 times that, I would take it. It's DCA day. I already DCA'd, and I've been on this stream for a little bit too long. All right, guys, let's conclude. Overall, I ranted a little bit. You know what? I couldn't help myself, but man, the situation we're in is dire. Inflation is a real bitch, and the U.S. economy is not looking good. And Powell not making things better, trying to fix things, but there's just so little that he can do at this point, right? But with all that said, a near term may not be so good. Near term outlook could be bad, but it shows that we need something better, and it shows to everyone, not just the U.S., around the world, that we need something that we can trust, right? Something that can't be manipulated by the Fed or any central banker or any governments around the world. We need something much better, and that's Bitcoin. So don't give up on it. All right, guys, smash the like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys tomorrow bright and early, 8:15 a.m. Central Standard Time. All right, have a good one, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.